He was pretty close to us, but he was tough on us. That really hurt me bad, and I told the company commander, the battalion commander, I said, I need to come home. I said, my brother and sister are younger, and my dad always hated living out there in the country where we lived in Stillwater, and I need the family needs me. He said, well, that can't happen. We can't give you back. That's it. I didn't know this lieutenant colonel, and he hadn't been with me. And but some of the other officers in the area there, they did know me. And so anyway, they got a chaplain, and he got a fifth whiskey. And he told me to get the cup and drink some whiskey in there. We're going to have a drink. And I did take a drink, a good drink, and he did too. And that kind of got me by there for a little while. And then I got a shower. Only had 2 showers in 10 months. We were animals. We were animals in the mountains. But you know what? I never had a man cower down, and I never had a man even get a cold. He never got a cold on everybody. It's amazing. But they're tough. Those kids are tough. But they were the highlight of my life. Anyway, back here in the United States, Senator Kerr was our senator, and had a lot of power. And the people back home got with Kerr, and in 24 hours from there, I was home. I was coming home, for a 30-day leave. They gave me that 30-day leave to get my affairs together and the family and go back. That's what the deal was. But I had that article in Stillwater, and the colonel saw it, that I was under ROTC, and he called me the next day. The colonel and my dad were real good friends. The colonel had a quarter section of land right out by where we had some land. Anyway, the colonel called me and said, Bill, he said, before you go back to Korea, I want you to visit with me so that we're teaching these kids the right stuff. He said, we got 3,200 of them over there now. Of course, if you were a freshman or sophomore, you had to take it unless you were 4F. But it was a lot of people in ROTC over there. I said, Colonel, there's no way you can keep me out of going back. I said, not if you're a country-bled officer, lieutenant or captain. They just don't make them. They're knocked over every day. They're gone. It's a new set just all the time. Why I didn't get knocked, I didn't, but got by in pretty good shape. But it was, I'll tell you what that experience did. After taking 440 and 487 and 355. I decided I was going to be probably fairly successful because I wouldn't accept anything else than that. No way. We would. When I came to town, I had a wife, 2 kids, 7-year-old car, and $1,000. And old Harold Greenwood, he went with the deal when I bought Hancock. Did you ever know Harold Greenwood? He was something else. He was a hand. He really was. He came to me and he did the books and everything. He did it all, day and night for Hancock, and he did with me when I got him. But he came to me after I'd been here 10 days, and he said, Bill, he said, we're out of money. He said, we got to get some more money. Hancock was a millionaire. He made it in the Happy Valley oil field and feed, but mostly that. And he made a millionaire making $3 oil. But anyway, I said, Harold, we don't have any more money. I got a note with Gene Hancock on some of this and some with First National Bank over in Stillwater, because the banker over there will do anything for my brother, Bob, which tomorrow night he'll be 85. I'm 85. He'll be 84. I told Harold, I said, we're just going to have to make it. And I called my brother. My brother is a kind of a high roller. And he didn't mind running the bills and not paying for them very fast. And I did. I wrote him a check that day. And that's why I was out of money, because I hadn't got anything sold and coming back yet. Bob said, are you writing checks here every day? And I said, yeah. He said, you can't do that. He said, don't pay anybody for 30 days and you'll have $20,000. And he's a master at that, so that's what we did, and that's what we had to do. I didn't really like to do it that way. But anyway, Harold said, we can't make it that way. And he said, you know, Cushing Packing offered me a job. And he said, I didn't take it, but he said, I might have thought about it. And I said, get the phone and call them, see if you can still get it. But he never did. He stayed with me till he died with cancer.
Thank you so much, Bill Ahrberg, for sitting down and telling your story of the Korean War and your 3 Silver Stars. Red Dirt Media Group would like to thank all the veterans in the United States for your service. We'll be back in just a little bit, but first, let's take a look at a speech Ronald Reagan gave concerning veterans on Veterans Day.
A few moments ago, I placed a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. And as I stepped back and stood during the moment of silence that followed, I said a small prayer. And it occurred to me that each of my predecessors has had a similar moment, and I wondered if our prayers weren't very much the same, if not identical. We celebrate Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. The armistice that began on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And I wonder, in fact, if all Americans' prayers aren't the same as those I mentioned a moment ago. For all we can ever do for our heroes is remember them and remember what they did, and memories are transmitted through words. We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise, We see them as something like the founding fathers, grave and gray-haired. But most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember. There's always someone who is remembering for us. No matter what time of year it is or what time of day, there are always people who come to this cemetery, leave a flag or a flower or a little rock on a headstone, and they stop and bow their heads and communicate what they wished to communicate. I think sometimes of General Matthew Ridgway, who the night before D-Day tossed sleepless on his cot and talked to the Lord and listened for the promise that God made to Joshua, "I will not fail thee nor forsake thee." We are surrounded today by the dead of our wars. We owe them a debt we can never repay. All we can do is remember them and what they did and why they had to be brave for us. All we can do is try to see that other young men never have to join them. Today, as never before, we must pledge to remember the things that will continue the peace. Today, as never before, we must pray for God's help in broadening and deepening the peace we enjoy. Let us pray for freedom and justice and a more stable world. And let us make a compact today with the dead, a promise in the words for which General Ridgway listened: "I will not fail thee nor forsake thee."